man, there was a time 50 had to put G Unit to the back and focus on 50 Cent. Now, 50 Cent stopped his whole career to focus on G Unit. What people don't realize is that 50, look, this is what happened, people. Y'all don't understand. Get Rich or Die Trying come out, right? Once Get Rich and Die Trying come out, they go immediately to the G Unit Beg for Mercy album. That's the next project when 50 Cent first dropped. He the biggest artist in the world at the time. He sells 10 million records, whatever, and the album is incredible, right? Now everybody's 50 crazy. He's coming out with a G Unit album. Interscope and Shady Records and all of them, like M was like, do you, man. Like M was like, I'm not finna stop you from doing a G Unit album. Eminem could have took a piece of the G Unit project, but he said, no, that's you, man. You do it. Do what you want to do with it. And he decided they had Def Jam with Leor Cohen. Everybody came to offer them money for G Unit, the group. Leor probably offered the most money out of the deal. But when Jimmy Iovine was interested after, seeing what happened with Dr. Dre and the success of that album, they were like, man, this might be the best look for us if we would take this route. Now, let's go and try to get this album, sign G Unit and put them on Interscope. Keep it all one house. And they didn't match what Def Jam offered, but they said, look, we're all in house. We got a machine here. You see how we work with the promotion. We can make it work. The song don't even have to be all that, and it can shoot up to number one. That's what we bring to the table. That's what Jimmy conversation was when they were pitching the G Unit label. Like, the song don't even gotta be all of that. And we pretty much have a machine here on how it works with the promotion. We control the elements of it. We could push this to the top. So that's why 50 stayed and signed G Unit to Interscope. Now, the studio wanted 50 to come out and start going to work immediately on his second album, which was supposed to be called the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It was supposed to come out on Valentine's Day. But things got derailed because he wanted to put G Unit album out next. And they were like, no, we sit on G Unit. We let people wait and starve for it, and we'll put them on a couple of songs, make people beg for it. And he was like, nah, I want to get G Unit out and get them rolling right now so that G Unit Records, can be up and rolling with the artists. So we can start, releasing budgets, and I need to get that up and moving. Because 50 think like a hustler. I can't sit around and be eating, and then I got to just sit here and feed my guys. They need to be having some motivation to do this. Or one of them could try to take me out. Or somebody gonna get in their ear and make them want to leave. Because they ain't getting the shine or the spotlight that they really want, like they can really get. Even though that wasn't the case, but you got people like Buck, who they just signed, because Yayo got locked up and everything else, and Young Buck got brought aboard. He ready to shine. So he all over the G Unit projects. So a lot of young people didn't know Buck was not an original member. So when he came over and joined G Unit, at this point, 50, they went along with the project because they said, look, this is what 50 want to do, let them do it. So they put out the Beg for Mercy album. That sold millions of records, right? Now, 50 is working on a motion picture for Get Rich or Die Trying. Just like they did with Eminem, they finna do this with 50. So 50 was constantly working. He went on tour, made a killing on tour, making multi-millions of dollars just touring and doing shows. Because he wasn't getting paid on his album. He makes more money on the G Unit Beg for Mercy album than he did on his album. Now, but based off his album, Get Rich or Die Trying, he's able to tour and do and request buku amounts of cash. And 50 was always thinking business smart. He took all those business opportunities that other rappers was turning down because they were protecting the culture and this and that. 50 was like, y'all stupid. Yeah, I'll take that deal. Yep, I will take that deal. How many more endorsements? Let's go. Who got them? You want to bring it? I'll eat some Doritos. So, I mean, whoever came with the bag, we could talk. Now, while all of this is happening and they doing the massacre and all of these things, Lloyd Banks' project was coming up next, his solo project. All of these things are happening at one time. It's a fluid motion. That movement was massive in that short period of time. All the work that was put in. And I'm like, do people even realize how much work was done here? No other artist had done this. No other artist but 50 Cent has ever done it like this. Never have before been done. The Tank, yeah, but there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen on one label to get that off. Like Master P, it had, like, these guys were continuously, making songs, but they weren't doing what 50 was doing. 50 was doing a motion picture. He was touring out of the country, flying around. Master P is the closest you would ever come to doing something like that. But 50 was just doing it on a bigger scale now. I could say he learned the game, or some of it from P. A lot of these artists learned from Master P. And they just don't give him his credit or his just due. But P is a hustler by nature. It's in his DNA to think outside the box. And because he thought outside the box, it put him in a position. Now, he didn't stay there because he didn't realize what he had to do to stay in that position and that he was a target. And they were going to box him in. See, it's one thing to control your situation and control that table, but if you don't go in together as a family, it'll split apart. See, everything became about P. P got this. P doing this. P raking in his money. P doing that. P made all this, and everybody else on the label looking like, what about us? So, what P should have did was help the others acquire their own labels and have them break off and make their own labels attached to his. Show them how you did it so that they can branch up the same way you did. Now y'all got a tree of owners in this record company business. It's what Leo Cohen did. This is how Leo Cohen cornered the market. So, all of these other artists in the game, they didn't understand what was happening. They were just getting their checks, worried about their little squad, and that's it. I'm going to feed my squad, and that's that. Nas couldn't get the Bravehearts off the ground because even though he's one of the greatest rappers in the game, don't mean he's the greatest business owner in the game. Doesn't mean he knows how to do this. It doesn't mean he knows how to move forward with this nonsense that's going around. It doesn't mean he knows what he's doing. And it's proven time and time again, he kept making mistakes. He was doing deals and projects for other artists that weren't even signed to him. They wasn't signed to Ill Will Records. But now with Mass Appeal, he has a team around him that seems to know what they're doing. So it took years for him to get to a point where he said, okay, we've learned from what happened with Ill Will Records. So 50 was able to get it off the ground immediately. You know, Dipset was more low rent with it. You know, too much infighting, and everybody wants the number one spot. And they make a little bit of money, and it's gone the next day. No stability, no leadership. Now, you have this situation while 50 decided it was time to put G Unit to the back. Now, the Big Withdrawal, which was supposed to be the second album from Lloyd Banks, the masters for the album, Lloyd Banks had the masters for the album. And he's messing around with some chick while he got it on him. He's supposed to be heading with the songs to take it, you know, to get processed or whatever. They release the budget or whatever for the songs and everything else. He leave it over this chick's house that he's messing around with. Two girls or whatever. And he just leaves it recklessly. Leaves the masters to his whole album completed. Like, it's about 13 songs on there done. It gets leaked to the internet because they sold it to somebody, and the rest is history. The Lloyd Banks album is leaked all out on the internet, and they just have to start from scratch and make a whole new album, which pushed that album back. And then it came out to be very financial hit to 50. Now, because Lloyd Banks is his biggest solo artist, he can't afford to lose bankers at this time. So, but yeah, he's ultra pissed because now this has set them back. They've wasted money. And it seemed like the more money that was made, the lazier Lloyd Banks got, you know, because it felt like it all came easy. Because Lloyd Banks got the personality of a rock. You know, it's just low demeanor. No high energy whatsoever. So 50 was his selling grace. 50's different. He's personable. And he could sell a Lloyd Banks who he just came out, rapped, you know, he wouldn't have done anything. You know, like he'd been a dope rapper that didn't sell no records. 50 helped that move. But what really did it is Lloyd Banks' father passed away, you know, had a heart attack or whatever, and he passes away. So his old man's gone. So right away, you know, he got to handle that. So he goes home. His album is released. They did the Hands Up video. They were supposed to do the song for the lead single of the album. The first song of the album that got the whole G Unit on it, and everything else was supposed to be the Streets record. And the first song on the album. And that was supposed to be, you know, for the Right Now Apple album, you know, they're supposed to be the street jam to go on the other side of it. And they're supposed to do the street video and everything else, which makes Hands Up, you know, acceptable. And he just like walks away. This is promotional shows and everything else. This is what sells the album. He he goes home. Banks is dealing with that, with what's going on with his pops dying, and 50 had like almost no sympathy, no concern for any of it. So his thing was, look, I know you sad, but this is business. Like you can't just walk away. But what happened was that once his father died, his mom had a stroke. Then at the funeral, she had another stroke. So she had back-to-back strokes. So he wasn't ready to leave his mom. But Banks is quiet. So Banks don't really talk about what's going on or communicate. He just stays silent and shut down. So without all of this dialogue, you just think this guy's just going home and he's just lazy and don't want to do anything. And when you somebody with a work ethic like 50 Cent, it's going to really piss you off because you're losing money again on this project. And this is why the Rotten Apple didn't get even though a lot of people love that album, and it had some great songs on it, it wasn't promoted. And at this moment, this is when 50 said, that's it. I gotta worry about my career. And he put G Unit to the back. He was putting them first all the time. I've never seen another artist do this in my life, what 50 Cent did for G Unit. He put them before himself and made sure everybody was straight and getting a bag. And they put Game in G Unit. They didn't ask for Game to be in G Unit. That was Dre and them idea of like, let's put Game in G Unit. And they brought 50 on to help market Game. And when Game blew up and became, oh, he's the biggest G Unit artist, so and so, this all worked out. Now he blew, and all them sales went to his head. But then he went out to attack G Unit and just rip apart everything 50 has built. And Interscope was basically financing it. So that really put a wedge in between Interscope and 50 as far as how he felt about the situation. Because now he felt betrayed. He felt let down. Well, now the guys are different. Guys don't think that way. Guys think like, well, we'll get them next time, or we had a good run. That's how most guys think. Like, yeah, it was a good run. We did the best we could. But I understood what 50 did, what he did. Some people would turn their back to the situation, but I understood why 50 did what he did. You have to at that point, because it's a business. Like he brought up to Lloyd Banks when they spoke. He said, man, look, Kanye back on tour. He just lost his mother, man. And he's back on tour. The business, the show must go on, man. It's business. And Banks is like, yeah, well, I'm not Kanye. And that right there told 50 what he had with Banks. Banks was never going to be a star. He knew right then and there, no matter how much I try to sell him, Banks ain't never going to go anywhere. He will never be able to stand on his own and deal with all the other stuff that comes with it. He just want to go to the studio, make records, put the record out, make the video, and go home. That's it. Banks ain't going to be a star. He knew. He knew. Now, Banks is an outstanding rapper, bar for bar. He could go up against any rapper you pretty much put on the table. But, like, he made punchlines the main, like, he brought that to the forefront and made it popular. The punchline rapper, punchline king. Just punch, punch, punch. He changed all these rappers. Then it was like everybody was trying to be Lloyd Banks with the punches. And Kiss is like, yo, daddy, I've been doing that. Way before Lloyd Banks. Shoot, that's what we do. It's the locks. So when they had that locks G-Unit thing going on, and that was cool because it's some cool stuff for the hood. But like I'm saying, the locks made different decisions that I didn't like, but I love the music. But ultimately, in the end, they realized what was the bigger picture that they should have been focusing on from the very beginning. And we're going to go into that at a later date. All right, Patreons, you guys get this first. So hopefully you enjoy it. And we'll release it to YouTube someday. But I'm out. Don't forget, like button. Cash App is Carcino, Karceno. And we out the door.